Hello and welcome to WGMI Community AMA Chat with REtoken DAO. We have with us Mr. and Mrs. Yonks, who are going to explain to us how the REtoken DAO works and some of the other communities that they're very active in.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for Jairus for setting this up. I'm really happy to have a conversation with you two. So just briefly, let's get into, who you are, how you got involved in the space.
I was looking for my soft mute button. That's one of the things I'm still getting better at. So I'm actually newer to crypto. It's, I guess we're just around the corner from February. I haven't even had a crypto wallet for 1 year. I think got my first MetaMask wallet like April of 2021. And it was kind of an interesting timing as far as things. And I'm going to try to keep it short, but I had, from the timing perspective, was able to spend a lot of time on Clubhouse, refining some social audio, but majority of the time there was spent in a room called Crypto and Coffee. And they had this fabulous morning show that was literally like 2 or 3 hours 5 days a week, just talking about all the things crypto. So it really provided a great opportunity to quickly become more in the know as far as the crypto and all this stuff. But it really didn't go that much into DAOs. And I think it was maybe sometime in June when really started discovering DAOs. And one of the origin story is we were actually under contract for this project called Crypto House, which is still very much on our roadmap. But that was a catalyst for, we had a hard money lender pull out at the 11th hour where we were looking to buy a plot of land to build this Crypto House, which is an accommodations plus crypto mining like hybrid situation. And we were really wanting to make it use the extra power generated from like solar energy or geothermal to mine the crypto mining. And anyway, this hard money lender pulled out, and we were like, well, what's a better solution for raising the capital to do this proof of concept? Because we really think that that's a proof of concept that can scale very well. And then as a serial entrepreneur, a little bit of shiny ball syndrome, have so many projects that are on the shelf, but that's another story for another day. And really started seeing the opportunity with DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, really saw the huge opportunity with real estate tokenization. And then we launched REtoken, the real estate DAO, in July of 2021. And it's been an amazingly fun journey since then. And I've left a lot off, but I was wanting Mrs. Yonks to fill in some of the gaps on that.
Great.
Sure. So we're based in Denver, and Denver, like a lot of cities around the country and around the world, housing is absolutely out of control. And it is just really, really challenging when communities turn into nothing but renters, for what that looks like. So one of the things that we were looking at was saying, what if you could buy an undivided share of a room, bedroom and a bathroom, and you could start building an equity position, and we could actually turn renters into owners through NFTs and cooperatives, and just use the blockchain and crypto mining to offset the cost of housing and really kind of rebuild communities and neighborhoods and give people an alternative in housing. So that's what we're trying to do.
Cool. That sounds really exciting. Maybe you can get a little more into kind of how you form this DAO and how you see that transitioning into real life assets. I don't know if that's getting too into the deep end, but that's automatically where my mind goes with this, is just,
No, definitely. So one of the positions, and this is, so there's two things in real estate tokenization. One is if you're an accredited investor, which means you have a liquid net worth of $1 million+ or you make $200,000 or $300,000 if you're married, then you can automatically buy whatever you want. for the rest of the world that doesn't apply to, you have to buy it as a registered security, or if you want to take the risk, buy it as an unregistered security. So one of the things that we're looking at is having a broker dealer issue these shares, and that's what we're doing with our regulation crowdfunding. So Jason, if you want to kind of elaborate on that.
Yeah, so we're taking a more conservative path to market, like, because we really believe that the big money hasn't even entered the crypto space. And, you know, number go up, number go down. The total market cap of crypto is anywhere from 1.5 to 3 trillion right now. And when we're talking the big money, like, you know, grandma and grandpa money, and crypto is like very scary for grandma and grandpa right now. And there's like, from a US securities regulations, because a lot of people are like, well, aren't familiar with security tokens, because when you look at like, they're just like a little bitty sliver of the market share. And there's like three, Tyler already mentioned the broker dealer, and we really like regulation crowdfunding for several different reasons. And then there's also the registered transfer agent, because right now the SEC here in the US doesn't recognize the public blockchain for chain of custody. So that's who provides, like, if grandma and grandpa loses their seed phrase, then the transfer agent, they can basically reissue those security tokens for grandma and grandpa. And then the other one is the alternative trading system, ATS. And like, when you think of an exchange, that's basically what an ATS is for security tokens. And we really want to take this more conservative approach, because we want to be positioned so that when the big money does come into the space, we've got a process refined. And right now we're taking a community first approach too, because a lot of people don't know how things work, and we're taking very much an educational approach. And that's one of the reasons that, like, on our roadmap for 2022 Q1, we literally have one thing on there, and that's a virtual event. And we're executing that via Token Summit DAO. We talked a little bit about that before we went live here, and maybe we will later. And then, like, on the second thing that we've got on our roadmap for Q2 is a fractionalized real estate certificate program. And we really see that both of those things, while we're working towards this security token path for real estate tokens, can provide some revenue for the DAO. And we like to still consider ourselves a content, or regularly referred to as a media DAO here in the Web3 DAO ecosystem.
Yeah, so one of the things that's just really exciting about this is the world is just changing. I mean, one of the most interesting things long-term about COVID is that it let people who thought they could never be remote. So now it's, if you can live wherever you want and do your same job, where would you live and how would you live? And so single family house, neighborhood, 30 years, 2 kids and a dog is the right solution for some families, and it's not the right solution for other families. And so we started thinking, what would happen if you wanted to spend 3 months in Paris, or you wanted to, live in Australia for a year, or you just wanted to buy 1 bedroom of the house down the street because you like your neighborhood, but you can't afford a whole nother rental house. So what would happen if we opened up all those options for people to live the way they wanted, try different roommates, different communities, live in different circumstances? What chapters of your life could you create if you could go where you wanted, live where you wanted, and build equity along the way?
Mm-hmm. That's really, that's an amazing goal. It's very, because I've seen that you've said that you want to kind of disrupt the traditional mortgage system in this way. So, I mean, if you want to explain that a little more.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things is that anybody who this is something that, again, Jason and I had personal experience with. we actually, Jason, you take this. I've got the baby.
Yeah, so our flagship project for REtoken is Token Town, with the tagline of the HOA Destroyer. And
Okay.
when we drop that tagline, it normally results in a gesture similar to what you just did there, Anthony, because most people loathe HOAs for a lot of different reasons. And when you just take a step back and like look at what is an HOA, it's basically at the shell of it, or at the heart of it. It's a governance framework for managing this community dynamic. But when you think about like the process of how an HOA comes into being, it's normally created by the developer of that community, and they have one goal, is to build the community and make as much money as possible, right? And then create something that they can step away from. And it's been enormously successful here in the US. Municipalities love it, but at the end of the day, it's not a technology-enabled solution. So with the HOA Destroyer, we're looking to flip the entire process on its head. So instead of like, putting money together to develop a plot of land, we're taking a community-first approach. And with Token Town, we have a founding citizen NFT, which is functionally just a governance utility NFT. And we're limiting it to 32. And the reason for 32 is that and it's actually one wrapped Ethereum and on Polygon. And the reason for that is it's, again, a utility NFT, and several different reasons. Not going to go into details as why we chose Polygon. But the when you look as far as what we're looking to create, is we're wanting to create some resemblance and some community before we even go through the process of creating the governance framework for this community, or finding the plot of land, or all of this other situations. And we're really wanting to create a model here that will scale very well. And this with Token Town, this first neighborhood that we're looking to build, and we chose Colorado. I've actually got a Colorado shirt on here right now. And that's just for geographic proximity to us, and then several different reasons. Denver is a pretty cool town for people to move to, and we're not exactly sure where that's going to be, because we're not far enough down the process yet. But the reason that we chose 32 for that is that that's the exact amount of Ethereum that you need to set up a full node for a validator, so that these founding citizens, can have a simple mechanism for getting yield while we're working towards creating this next gen neighborhood. And go ahead, Tyler.
Oh, sorry. I loved Ernest's lines. The HOA is the non-cooperative association. So this is a spectacular line. So a couple things. One is, I see our friend Teresa in the audience saying lots of potential here. It's always so encouraging when a professional realtor says, this is it. This is where we're going. So one of the things, to go back to your original point about mortgages and also the title insurance, and if any of you guys have ever bought or sold a house, there's 400 pieces of paper. You're trying to get a mortgage, proving everything you've ever done, trying to do this, and they won't account for any alternative things, like saying, I can't afford this because I'm going to rent a room, or I can't afford this because I'm going to do Airbnb, or whatever. They don't account for any of that. So they really want to box you into having a corporate job and traditional income, and saying you can afford this all on your own, and that's the only way. So we started thinking, but what if there were an alternative to banks altogether? You don't have to get your mortgage through a bank. There's trillions of dollars in crypto. What would happen if you wanted to buy a $500,000 house? So 1,000 people pledge $500, and then you got $500,000 and you go buy your house. And then you can either do it as a debt note that expires like a mortgage would, that's tradable like a mortgage is. The problem is that mortgage companies can trade with each other. They can buy or sell your mortgage. But what would happen if you could just own a little piece of mortgage that you could buy and sell? And these are all things that we want to do. The other thing is the title insurance is title companies pretty much 100% of the time recommend title insurance so that you make sure that you've got a clear title to your house, except for what would happen if you could just look on the blockchain and say, well, Bob Smith sold this house to you in 1993. There it is. It's right in the blockchain. So when you're selling it to me, it's there. There it is. Like it's there. And you can see that it's unencumbered because the debt notes that are the NFTs have all been burned because you paid them off. And so the mortgage is free and clear. There's no validation. I mean, you could, instead of going through the multi-week to multi-month process to buy a house, you could just close. I mean, you could buy a house and close in an hour. I mean, it's just so easy with all the validation publicly,
Right.
even on a much longer term basis. And this is going to take years to adopt, but Jason and I own a rental property. We just got the furnace replaced. What would happen if I could just put that in my chain? And so I could say, look, here are all my service records from my house. You can see everything that's ever gotten done. I don't have to look for it. I don't have to keep it somewhere. It's just all there.
Right.
So those are all the possibilities that we see in the future as more and more blockchain things get adopted.
Yeah, I think that's all really amazing. I think that we're definitely headed to that path. And I talk a lot about that in my own work and my own things that I do. So I really think that's really awesome that you're trying to tackle that and take that on. It is quite a little bit off, obviously, technologically, and most importantly, with regulation and things like that. So what do the day-to-day functions of REtoken DAO look like in preparing for that, for the big things you're trying to do in the future? What do your day-to-day steps look like?
Well, right now we're all in on Token Summit DAO, which is a sister DAO, or however you want to call it, because we had literally one thing on our roadmap for 2022 Q1, and we do love our roadmap. And one of the things that our community has continued to bring forward is the keeping it super simple, the KISS philosophy. So we're basically focusing on delivering this event, which we will hopefully be a profit center while we're working on developing some other profit centers for us. So our day-to-day right now is working on Token Summit, where we're looking to do a mini summit on 2/22/22 to kick off International DAO Day. And as a DAO ourselves, and then Token Summit is functionally a completely separate DAO, but we're looking to create a lot of synergies there. And then so that's our day-to-day activities right now. We just had our 22nd community call on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time on a very similar format, and we really refined this live streaming format there at REtoken. We went through the process of like doing the Discord thing, and then like in a effort for full transparency, trying to like upload those community calls or something like that. And as I was mentioning here before we went live, I just don't got time for that. And like true story, like when we were really putting a lot of effort behind Token Town, which was I think the last week of September and the first week of October, when we were really creating where we're at with Token Town right now. And we're far from anywhere near like building a neighborhood. There's still a lot of stuff that has to be done there.
One of the things that we're prioritizing right now is selling out this founding citizenship of Token Town.
Mm-hmm.
So the way the project's going to move forward is we sell the rest of the founding citizenships. We've sold 5, we have 27 left. Once we've sold those 32 governance tokens, those tokens aren't the actual property. They're not investments. They're not profit shares. They're the governance tokens. Once we sell the governance tokens and that committee decides where and how and put some structure underneath Token Town, then we're going to follow it up with the crowdfunding offering, and we're going to raise somewhere in the $2 to $5 million range, depending on where and what kind of land we end up buying. and what improvements and zoning and all that, and then get the full plan together. And then we're going to start raising the individual houses and go to build. So Jason and I have been meeting some really interesting people in modular housing, in 3D printing. There's all kinds of things, like even the traditional ways. I mean, I'm sure you've heard all this with the supply chain, building cost of materials are just through the roof. And then there was already a labor shortage on top of that. So those things on top of what was already making housing expensive is making housing even more expensive. So what we're looking at are some alternatives. Since we're doing this whole thing non-traditionally, we thought, what if we use 3D printing solutions and started putting housing together that way? A lot of times those things are great. Number one, they're much cheaper. They're greener. They're faster to build. They're faster to permit. They're faster for everything. And we just wanted to provide these housing alternatives to people to do. And then once we have the model for Token Town built, we would like to replicate that either again in Colorado or potentially in another state. And then once we have that down, maybe go global. So pretty exciting. We just want to make sure that if you were really intentional about building your neighborhood, what could you do? And our thought was, what if enough people wanted to get together that people said, hey, there's 50 of us, we want to form our own Token Town. Let's just do it. I mean, you could actually build your own neighborhood, and either that, or you could move to a suburb and have 3 nosy Brendas telling you what color to paint your front door. I mean, that's always an option too. But if that's not the one you want, then we want to give you something else.
That's cool. Yeah, it's like I said, that's really, really exciting stuff that you're trying to tackle. So yeah, of course, it seems like it does tie into, being involved in a lot of other projects and DAOs and things like that. So how do you see that tying into kind of your long-term goal, with your daily DAO activity? Like, do you see that directly tying in, or more of an indirect, like just staying active in the ecosystem as much as possible? And
we've met so many DAOs that we really love. And so one of the things, like, there's a DAO that's also Colorado based. It's called Opolis, and they are a worker cooperative collective. And one of the things that's really cool about them is, if you are an Uber driver or a full-time musician or any other category where you just don't fit in a traditional W-2 type of job, you can actually have them cut your payroll, and then you can have a 401k, and you can have health insurance, and you can have all the benefits that get provided by W-2 jobs without actually being in a W-2 role. So they're a DAO. They have their own social tokens. Like that's one that we really love. So people say, hey, I want to have a dream of starting my own business. Like, we want to bring people into that worker collective because I think it's really cool. This will ring true to Jason. I don't know if either of you guys are drinkers, but Jason's a big craft beer fan. And I just met up with some guys. It's called Beer DAO or Brewery DAO or something. And they are raising craft breweries around the world. I think the guy's based in Australia. So we're just meeting tons of interesting people, doing cool projects, everything from housing, real estate, breweries, worker collectives. I actually had a guy with a Fortune 500 company call me the other day as a partner in this Fortune 500 company. And he said, how would my company use a DAO? And it was really, this is a really interesting conversation. I don't necessarily know that it would have made sense for what he was doing, but the fact that a company that big and that profitable and that established is saying DAOs are a thing, how do we need to be part of it, is just it's a really cool conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Changing the face of business.
Yeah, and when you're in a global consultancy that they provide, and I'm not going to drop the name because I noticed that Tyler didn't, but that's DAOs are going to be very
off the record means off the record, so I don't.
Yeah, no, DAO, everybody's wanting to learn more about DAOs, and that's one of the things that kudos to Mrs. Yonks for being kind of a pioneer, because I know a lot of people in the Web3 space are kind of anti-LinkedIn, but we're like, especially with REtoken, we've been very intentional about establishing a presence on LinkedIn. And I think Mrs. Yonks was telling me that our company page for REtoken is about at the the 150 followers threshold, which is will be a milestone for us, because then that's a barrier of entry that LinkedIn has created for LinkedIn live video. So now we'll be able to start live streaming our REtoken community calls directly into our company page, instead of like right now, it's just because this is being live streamed onto my personal LinkedIn as well, because there's a lot of people that are curious about this space, and that's only going to amplify here in 2022. And the easier that we can make to invite people in to participate and have fun is, I think, the number one important thing here.
Yeah, that's my little shout out. I'm going to drop this in the YouTube comments. If you're on LinkedIn and you're not following us, please do. We need 5 more people. So we're pretty excited about that.
I'm on LinkedIn, so I'll jump over there after this call.
One of the things that's been really interesting about LinkedIn is there are so many interesting people and interesting topics that are connecting. So Anthony, you mentioned a minute ago about what connections we're seeing. So LinkedIn suggested to me that I follow the Borderless Blockchain Alliance, which is a DAO. I think it's a DAO out of London or somewhere in Europe. And the guy just posts really interesting stuff. So the DAO, what we're realizing is that because we're in all of them, I had just sort of made this assumption that if you're interested in Web3, you're also interested in DAOs, and you're also interested in crypto, and you're also interested in NFT. And I'm realizing those worlds are just really far apart. People own NFTs, but they're not in a DAOs, or they're in a DAO, but they really don't do much with crypto, or they're just everything from Jason minted our social tokens. I mean, it took him less than 15 minutes to mint them, get them live. And one of the things that we use with REtoken is it's purely a social token. Currently and potentially forever, the value is worth 0. If it starts trading in the future, that's a gigantic if. And we tell people not to count on that. So one of the things that we're looking at is saying we can showcase the value of our community by saying, look at how many people have been doing so many hours of work to build this community, to move this project forward with no expectation that they're going to get paid for it. That's the power of DAOs. If they do, cool. If they don't, they didn't. And it's something that there's nothing out there that no corporate structure where people would be like, I'm just going to go to my job and do a bunch of drudgery. We say, listen, everybody has a seat at the table. Everybody gets a vote. Let's make this fun. Let's bring everybody's ideas to the table. Let's vote on stuff. Let's all build it together. And that's been the power of this community. I think that's why people keep showing up for it, is because they believe in the mission and they believe in the project. And it's a really easy way to say, this is how much you've contributed to the community because you're holding this many social tokens. So anybody can take it over by just doing the most work. And that's the form of true meritocracy. This is not out there in the corporate world.
Yeah, that's true.
And one of the other benefits as far as where our project is at with REtoken is that we have a very long time preference, and we don't have any external influences or pressures as far as, like, when I say external, in the form of like VC money saying, okay, well, you need to deliver this or this or this, or money go away, because that really creates a different type of dynamic for delivering in, because then you're operating under somebody else's expectations. And we have even though that we do have a social token, one of the things, and I've mentioned roadmap a couple times, and I'll go back to that again here, because like one of the things that we did as a community decide on, and I can't remember what REtoken improvement proposal that was on Snapshot that the community voted, but we have roadmapped our own social token for REtoken to go the path of a regulation crowdfunding offering here in Q3 of 2022, which will give us, some runway to create and deliver on this virtual summit dynamic, and then also the certificate program, because again, we really believe laying a solid foundation from an educational standpoint. And like one of the things that we're looking to do that's very different, because like when you think about, and this is very much a tangent in the conversation, but like when I went to not one, but two blockchain real estate, and the second one wasn't, the first one was a blockchain real estate summit. And I'm going to go back to that Michael Flight hosted in Austin, Texas. And this was September of 2021. Then literally a week or two later, there was a digital assets and securities conference that Teresa and I won tickets to that we attended in Austin. And that was a 3-day event. That's really where connected with and had a much more solid understanding as far as the security token path. And I think that most people that are aware of the situation largely agree, because when you look at like the opportunity of tokenizing real estate from a global market cap is $280 trillion. So like when you look at the market cap of crypto, which is like 1.5 to 3 trillion, and then you look at the global market cap of real estate, 280 trillion, and like almost 0% of that is tokenized today. And it just creates so many better dynamics, because like the liquidity of real estate and the ability, like one of the questions that Mrs. Yonks and I are looking to answer here through REtoken in the form of content. And we had a conversation with a fellow real estate tokenization Citadel, and we had them on a couple of weeks ago for an AMA, but we're really wanting to ask the question, how to own real estate for $100 or less. Because right now, if you ask most people, they will not be able to give you an answer to that. And then most real estate, especially REITs, require you to be an accredited investor. And we've talked a little bit about that. I don't know if we've provided any clarification, but for those that may or may not know, accredited investor, you have to be a millionaire, or from an income standpoint, have to be rolling 200K for the last couple of years, or if you're married, 300K. So it's a very, very high barrier of entry to take advantage of investing in a lot of the real estate opportunities that exist today. And that's one of the things when we went through, like one of the other fun exercises that we did, we, through the course of, I think it was 6 working groups, and we decided, because a lot of crypto projects are like, hey, what's your white paper or whatever? And we decided to deliver a light paper, and that's on our Gitbook at docs.ret.team. Yeah. And so we went through and we build passive income with real estate for everyone. And the for everyone has been the tricky part, because I just mentioned the accredited investor. And like one of the, to come back to the conferences that I was at for the real estate, like we really have a vision of helping like the people that do real estate deals today, like real estate agents, real estate professionals. They get compensated on a transactional basis. They do a deal, they get paid for that deal, then they go on to another one. We believe, and we haven't finalized our tokenization process yet, but we really believe that through the smart contracts and the situation that we can create with these security tokens, that the person that puts these deals together can potentially get compensated every time that token gets exchanged. So that creates a very different dynamic where somebody can do a deal and potentially get compensated on doing that deal for maybe even multiple generations.
Yeah, you think about as a professional realtor, you don't have a business to pass to your children. You can be the most successful realtor in the world. And because so many of those relationships are personal, and I don't know if I remember for me, I grew up in Cincinnati, and Verge Lovett was the State Farm guy, and everybody knew, like, if you needed insurance, it like that's who you went to. And his sign was right by my high school, and I just remember that. And it was just so funny because when he passes away, that there goes the business. I mean, it's so many of these things are not just they're not skippable. to a next generation, but now it is. So we had a comment in the audience. Somebody was asking if we could help him buy a house. And short answer is we're not live yet. So join the REtoken community. This offering probably isn't going to be live until around the end of 2022. You're welcome to jump in. Where we are right now is if you want to buy a governance token, they are one Ethereum, technically one wrapped Ethereum on Polygon, but one Ethereum. If you want to buy a governance token, we're not going to raise the money for the token town until we get the governance token sold out. So that's step one. So in answer to your question on that, and if you want to send me a DM, I can go into more on that later. But one of the things that we are looking at too is from the community standpoint, if you had this community that was governed by a DAO, how many more people could participate in governance? And here's your fun fact: next time you're at a party, you need one. The number one way people get into politics is because they're mad at their HOA. Like they're people that they've never thought about running for anything. They don't want to. And then somebody tells them no, or they told one of their neighbors yes when they wanted the answer to be no, and then they decide they need to be in politics. And that's the number one on-ramp in the United States. So fun fact for you is that's how people get in. But we thought if we could get more people into governance, if you just kind of pop up on your phone and said, hey, there's a vote, take 30 seconds to read the proposal and pick yes or no, we think it would just open the door to a lot more people wanting to participate. And that's really what we want, is we want as many people at the table as possible, because so many people want to be at the table, but they're just busy because life happens and they got kids and jobs and stuff and whatever. And they can't. But what if they could? And that's what we want to create, is a new structure, a new community, a new way for everybody to say, if you care about an issue, you get to vote on it. And if you want a bigger vote and a louder voice, then just start showing up more, and then you just have more of a voice. So, yeah.
Yeah, and besides just the governance aspect, when you think about like Token Town, where you've got multiple different houses within a community, the opportunity to really have that be community owned and operated through the tokenization, because each specific house or situation in that community will be tokenized. So the opportunity of it truly being like community owned it doesn't exist now that we're aware of. But one of the other things too that we haven't mentioned is like one of the things that we're working to bring to market, and this will probably be through, again, a sister DAO, but looking to create a cooperative housing NFT. And when you think about like housing, like, and this was again born out of the having some technology facility for representing the cash flow for that house. And when you think about monetary streams, like one of the streams that is pretty consistent in the equation of accommodations is your monthly rent, and the opportunity to have that technically represented via an NFT. Like Tyler and I, for example, a 4-bedroom house is a very common dynamic. And Tyler and I, we live pretty minimally as full-time travelers, and we really only need 2 bedrooms. And, you know, by trying to find a brand new 2-bedroom house that's built, unless you're in a condo that has an HOA that has an excessive amount, it's like, forget about it, right? So like going back to the single family dynamic, like bringing on a full-time like cooperative housemate, and then maybe doing like some shorter type of deal to really kind of juice the revenues, whether it's Airbnb or a furnish finder or whatever the case may be. And then just have that represented by an NFT. And then we really think that that would provide a solid segue into truly creating, because one of the things that we're all about is creating win-win-win situations where triple wins, where everybody in that dynamic is a winner. Because like when you look at some of the other real estate tokenization opportunities that exist, what they're doing is they're just taking a rental property and tokenizing it. And that's kind of scary, because like when you think about the value proposition, what value proposition does that create for the tenant? And I haven't gotten a good answer from anybody that is causing the proliferation of property managed rental properties via real estate tokenization to provide a good answer for. And that's one of the things that we're very different, is that we're intentional about developing win-win-win projects.
Well, had an interesting comment in the audience from Teresa. She said that there's going to be an NFT real estate auction in Florida coming up. It sounds like this weekend. So Teresa's going to it. Hopefully you give us a full report when you get back. Super excited. And apparently Barbados is building in the metaverse right now. So super exciting. Lots of countries getting on board. There's a candidate for the governor of Texas who mentioned that Bitcoin should be legal tender, which is kind of an interesting situation because states can't issue their own currency. It's a federal thing. But then I think it was a state senator in Arizona just introduced a bill to make Bitcoin legal tender in Arizona. So it is just like the Wild West out there with bills that are getting introduced. Bitcoin just got to be legal tender in, was it El Salvador, Jason? Do you remember? Yeah, in El Salvador. I think they already use, if I'm not mistaken, they already use the dollar as the US dollar as their legal tender, but they introduced Bitcoin as their second legal tender. And they gave all 4 million citizens of El Salvador a crypto wallet. I think they dropped over like $30 to just say, hey, you own crypto now and whatever. But it's, the world is just, it's shifting fast, and we're just really excited to be on the forefront. Jason's favorite expression is we're just getting started. And it's just crazy to think about where we're going to be even in a year with this real estate project of we could have this within, actually, I'll say 2 years. Within 2 years, we could have the entire governance sold out, the land bought and into construction, maybe even have our first homes constructed in this neighborhood. It's just all happening really fast. And that's why it's so exciting.
Yeah, it's really, it's very exciting what you're working on. And it's good that you're getting in early now, where you're going to position yourselves where when things are, more defined and more concrete, you already kind of have a path and you already been on that road. So it'll be really easy to pivot into whatever happens. As opposed to, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like waiting for regulation and waiting to see what happens before they get in. And by then you're going to be too late.
One of the things that's just been really interesting is the SEC is potentially going to do things retroactively. So a lot of the conversations that we have with DAOs are saying, hey, we're not lawyers. We don't know this for sure. I don't even know that lawyers do know this for sure, but just saying, let's go ahead and make our best efforts to comply with what we think the regulations are going to be. But we had a conversation with a fairly large DAO, and they said, "Oh, we're a DAO, so there are just no rules that apply to us at all." I don't think that's quite true, but our thought on kind of regulation is they don't quite know what to do with crypto. I think there are only maybe 2 or 3 U.S. senators in the entire Senate that own any crypto at all in their financial disclosures. And so they're trying to figure out how to regulate it. They can't spell blockchain. They don't understand anything. It's going to be really interesting to see how these regulations come up, and trying to balance privacy. People expect that their bank accounts, their brokerage accounts, all their stuff is private, and then blockchain is fully public. So how do you marry those two things of saying, how can you have some security that if somebody tries to steal your stuff, that you have some way to kind of guard it? And how that's the grandma money. That's Jason and I were visiting my parents over Christmas, and we were chatting with my mom about blockchain, and she still thinks it's video game money, but she's cheering for us. So I don't know if she'll ever have her own crypto wallet, but
we did give niece and 2 nephews set up their own MetaMask wallet and gave them 50 XDAI and 10 Matic on a fresh crypto wallet instead of giving them a Ulysses S. Grant instead of.
Very
cool.
cool.
They came out better, but who knows if they feel that they came out better, right?
Well, if you've got little kids, maybe not little kids, but like middle schoolers and up in your life, kids, teenagers, nieces, nephews, godchildren, whatever, it is so crazy how fast they can get stuff.
Mhm.
It's just a really cool thing to set up a wallet for them, show them how it works, throw $20 and $50 in it for them. And it's kind of, we're all wondering why none of us owned 1,000 Bitcoins from 2011 when we all thought it was. I saw this meme the other day that it was a video game tournament from like 2010 or something. And first prize was $50 and second prize was $20 and third prize was like 25 Bitcoins. So,
That's wild. This was in 2011.
I don't remember when Bitcoin started. It was like 2010, 2011. It was at the time, I think Bitcoin was $1.
2009, 2010.
Yeah.
Hey, also I read about Unlock Protocol and that you'll be utilizing that within Token Town. For the people that don't know, how does that work?
Yeah, so Unlock it's really, really cool. It's the whole idea is, if you think of Web 1 as username and password, and Web 2 as log on with Facebook or Google or Twitter, and Web 3 is log in with your crypto wallet, what Unlock does is it lets you gate content based on the presence of an NFT in your wallet. So you can put a plugin in WordPress. If you have a website, you can actually let people log in with their crypto wallets. You can buy an NFT, and then when you log into a conference or an event, it can say, okay, this NFT is in your wallet, therefore you have admittance to this conference or this event. It can allow you to take credit cards. I mean, it's really, really cool.
And that's going to be utilized for Token Town.
Yeah, it already is. So we've had that in place at tokentown.net for our founding citizen, which is a governance utility NFT. And somebody can go there for one wrapped Ethereum, and we're going to be using the same thing for our NFT ticketed events for Token Summit DAO as well. But yeah, so Token Town, and we're planning. We really love Unlock Protocol. It literally took us a couple weeks and trying out different NFT minting solutions, and it was the best solution that we could find where it truly gives creators or builders the opportunity to own their own smart contract, but yet they don't have to like figure out all the parameters. So like I can update the smart contract, and I actually did, which is outside of because I'm not a developer, outside of my geekiness zone or comfort level, but just update, like one of the knobs that I updated was the beneficiary, so that like whenever we take the money off of the smart contract, it goes into the multi-sig treasury that we've got for Token Town, Colorado. So that was like one of the parameters that updated. And then like the other was the price for the NFT. We wanted a really super simple one wrapped Ethereum on Polygon. So that was the other knob that I adjusted there, was setting the price for the NFT. And then like and you don't even buy the NFT, you actually mint it. So like to mint a founding citizen NFT, and we've done 5 so far. So like whenever the next one happens, it will be 6. And we're really hoping here with the exposure, because one of the most recent REtoken proposal, TDP 24, Treasury Distribution Proposal number 24 on Snapshot, that passed was, and we didn't even talk about this, like one of the wins that we've had at REtoken Token Town was we received a $10,000 Polygon Ecosystem DAO grant back in November that was awarded in December. And one of the fun things that we're doing with that is we're using half of that for basically sponsoring as Token Town REtoken, the Token Summit event, which we're also facilitating. So it's kind of like making it very circular and current with the funds, where we're transitioning it from our project to another project. which we will believe will provide solid yield through the exposure that we get there for our project. But then, yeah, it's been a fun several months here. And that was a tangent there to your Unlock protocol, but huge fans of Unlock protocol.
The other thing that we love about Unlock protocol is the team at Unlock is super accessible. I mean, keep in mind this company's worth a couple $100 million, and you can go into their Discord, ask questions, and their CEO/founder will answer. Their director of marketing will answer. Their senior devs will answer your questions. I mean, they just have an incredible community with lots of support. And if you have any questions about implementing it, they're right there. It was just so funny. One of the devs that is one of the core team members on the REtoken team was building something for Token Summit, and he said, "Oh yeah, I had a question about something." So, and he just casually mentioned that he was talking to the founder of the company who answered his question. And you just, again, shout out for crypto communities that make themselves accessible. This whole I'm you, you're me, I'm not the CEO, we're peers, we're equals, come to my party and sit at my table and let's all build this together. It's just really cool and exciting. So huge fans of Unlock. Their director of marketing actually jumped on our first Token Summit call and wanted to be involved with this project. So they're big fans and we're big fans of them, and it's a great community.
That's cool. I'm very excited for y'all future. A question I would like to ask is exactly, so I understand that it takes 32 ETH for a validator node. Is there any other ways that you plan on building passive income for the citizens of Token Town?
Well, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so like the goal of Token Town is to build very net positive energy housing. So like when you hear a lot of the FUD, especially regarding Bitcoin mining, is that it's uses so much energy. So the opportunity of and you get so many economies of scale, but like the opportunity to take that energy instead of just like pumping it back to the grid for a quarter, 50 cents on the dollar, whatever the public utility would normally pay for generating extra energy. We want to use that because that's one of the biggest recurring costs of Bitcoin mining or any other proof of work. And Ethereum is still largely a proof of work consensus algorithm until they update to the new architecture. And I guess the Ethereum devs decided that calling it Ethereum 2.0 was too confusing. So that's another story for another day. But so yeah, like when you think about the ability, and like we're huge cooperative fans, already mentioned the opportunity with developing a cooperative housing NFT, which we think can go into a cooperative housing protocol, and mentioned some of our origin story is Crypto House. So like the opportunity of generating a treasury within that cooperative housing unit that, because there's going to be coins that are going to be generated from the mining or validating operations that occur there. And then like the other value proposition that we have with building this housing from new construction is that we can incorporate build a micro data center within that house that is geared for having that type of compute stack. And that's some of my background, very geeky, more on the network engineering side, but very familiar with being in a stacks of computing or networking equipment, and looking to incorporate that where that treasury can provide yield over time to, again, drive the narrative. Because the main thing here is that we're wanting Token Town to be a solution for the global affordable housing crisis, but most importantly, not just affordable housing, equitable affordable housing.
A very powerful project. Very powerful. I love it. So Can you share more information with me about how you plan on being the mortgage destroyer?
Yeah, so I just love we're going to destroy everything. It's so fantastic. So again, this is assuming that we can get all the US security law pieces in place, but let's just fast forward to once we do, then we would be issuing NFTs as debt notes, the same way that you would when you get a mortgage, your bank issues terms and says you owe whatever 30 years at 4%. And there's some sliding scale where your first mortgage payment is like $25 of principal and the rest is interest, and it kind of slides down until your 30th year payment is the opposite of that. And so one of the things that we're looking at doing is saying, what if we just built an NFT debt note that said it compounds a simple interest. You can pay it off whenever you want. You can sell it as the holder. You can sell it for whatever you want. And instead of you having one entire mortgage and having to qualify for one entire mortgage, you could say, hey, all of the, so again, go back to your $500,000 house that you have 1,000 people that hold a debt note for $500. That's a really different ask to say, hey, would you like to buy into a share of this house for $500 or even $50? I mean, you can make it however you want. The other thing is every time you in the smart contract, you can put in burn mechanics that say you have the option to burn this token at any time at this price. So you would pay somebody for their accumulated interest up until that point, and then say, okay, this this NFT for $50, you need to pay this person $55 because that's what the accumulated interest they would have gotten is, but you can burn it today for $55. So you just transfer that person $55 and then you burn their NFT and then it's gone, and that's another piece of equity in your house. And eventually you own all the NFTs, you burn them and they go away, or you reissue them and you sell them. But just imagine how nice it would be to just be able to tap into a little bit of equity. You need $1,000 for something, you've got that much equity in your house, but you don't want to refinance your entire house to get $1,000 for whatever you need. Wouldn't it be nice to go sell 40 NFTs for and 20 NFTs and saying, or this is what I'm just going to sell you an NFT for, and then I'm going to sell it to you at this rate, and I'm not going to pay you back. I'm just going to buy it back from you for your principal plus your interest, and then burn it, and then just pay it off. And then you've got all the leverage in your house, and you don't have to just have it sitting there as debt equity. You can pay it off as fast as you want, and then you own your house outright, or you can leverage your house a little bit as you need it. I mean, you think about, you have $100 or $200 or $300,000 of equity in your house. It's just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah, it's doing nothing.
Yeah, and if you want to get access to it, there's not a mechanic in the market that says, I would like to borrow $1,000 against my house right now, Saturday, 10 o'clock at night, for a transaction I want to do Saturday, 10:15 at night, and I need the money to happen right now. That doesn't exist.
It does not exist. That would not happen. And
but it could. Yeah. So again,
I was gonna say, so basically regular real estate is toast then. I think tokenized real estate is gonna completely take over then. The use case.
We think it could. We think it could. I don't want to say it will, because they talk about the S-curve sometimes in technology. The first 10 years of technology, 10% of the people adopt it. The second 10 years, 80% more, and the final 10 years, 10% of people. You think about the fact that there's still 1-800 numbers. I don't know of anybody that still pays for long distance, but there's still 800 numbers, so maybe somebody does. How long did it take your grandma to get her first smartphone? Or like, how many people are still telling you that Bitcoin is going to go to zero and crypto is dead and whatever? So is this stuff all guaranteed? No, of course not. And are there going to be bumps along the way? Sure. But I think that the train's too far out of the tracks to say it won't ever. And I don't know that.
It became very apparent to me when I was at a real estate happy hour with traditional real estate professionals that there's a lot of people in the real estate industry that aren't necessarily wanting or embracing the idea of being disrupted. A lot of people are very hesitant to change. Yeah, I know. And I was trying to talk to him about my project, and then I was kind of the outlier at the end of the happy hour, just kind of like doing my own thing anyway, because like people weren't necessarily wanting to be disrupted during a happy hour conversation. So true story. The other thing though that's I think very important to mention, as far as at least for this Token Town, Colorado, is there's a unique opportunity. It's called Opportunity Zone, and like there are designated census tracts all over all 50 states, and then some of the non-states like Puerto Rico and stuff that
have you guys heard of
incentivizes.
opportunity zones? Do you know what those are? Does that sound familiar?
No, can you repeat that?
Have you guys ever heard of opportunity zones? Are you familiar with them?
No.
Okay.
Well,
great.
see, so it's a huge opportunity for, and it's literally like probably one of the best tax incentives that's ever been created. Because like there's this concept right now of a 1031 exchange where people kind of just upgrade their real estate and continue to roll those proceeds in, and there's never been a dynamic. And there's what the Opportunity Zone program provides for is people that have capital gains. So like, let's say you got that, you won that contest that Tyler was talking about, where you got the 25 Bitcoin instead of the $50, right? So number go up and Bitcoin has appreciated a lot. And one of the painful things that happens is whenever you sell something that's gone up in value, you have to pay capital gains. So enter opportunity zones. Opportunity zones provide a very unique dynamic where if you invest in a qualified opportunity zone business through a qualified opportunity fund, then by having that in there for a period of time, I think it's like a 10-year period of time, including whatever the value goes up, you don't have to pay any taxes on that. And again, talk to your tax professional, but there's literally been so much money that's gone into qualified opportunity funds that the IRS had to create a provision. It's like, okay, well, the people haven't been able to deploy this money into qualified opportunity zone businesses. We need to have a way that they can like pull that money back or something like that, because there's not been enough solid enough situations for this money to go into. So that's when you're looking as far as like funding, building out new construction, mortgages is just one of the ways that happens. And like the more that you can get funding through various capital stacks, whether it's through qualified opportunity funds or like a regulation crowdfunding or whatever the case may be, then you can take the traditional banks out of that equation and really come to market a lot faster.
Well, the other thing about opportunity zones is Jason and I went to several opportunity zone specific events, and everybody there was a hedge fund or a tax attorney or private equity or whatever. And they're saying, hey, what we need to do is just move into a very underserved community, build luxury hotels and office buildings and apartments and condos and whatever. And then all the riffraff will leave, and then the neighborhood's improved. I'm like, that's not quite what we were going for here. We're really trying to create an opportunity for these communities to be lifted up instead of just to be pushed out of a certain geography. Right. So one of the things that we're looking at deploying Token Town in these opportunity zones is to say, hey, if you're maybe a single person or a couple or a single parent, and you would like the opportunity to build some equity and rise up your family financially, how would this look to just bring it to market and do that? So
what I gotta say though, shared equity appreciation model, that's really what we're looking to create for the tenants of the situations that we're looking to tokenize, is some type of shared equity appreciation, because it's those tenants that are paying rent or carrying charges in the cooperative housing world. I was at a National Association of Housing Cooperatives in St. Pete's here back in November, and they don't even pay rent there. They pay carrying charges. So, but was looking, we're already more than 15 minutes past the hour. We can talk about this stuff all day long, nonstop, because it's something that we're very passionate about.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you guys so much for having us on the podcast. We're super excited to be here, and apologies, I went a little long. Hopefully this was interesting for your viewers and an opportunity to get to know this project a little bit better.
No, I was really excited to have you here and to finally get to talk to you. I've seen you both around the space a lot. I'm in a lot of the same DAOs and spaces that y'all are. So it was really good to have a talk. And I'm sure we will definitely be doing this again soon, because I know we have some other interviewers I'm familiar with that you are in touch with. So I'll definitely be talking to you again soon, because this is very exciting. I mean, just one thing I'd like to add on something you were saying earlier is, it is a ways off, but I think we're already seeing, like, DeFi trying to integrate NFTs as collateral. So just having NFTs as collateral is an easy first step towards tokenizing real estate and other real life assets, just starting with experimenting with digital assets and then moving into more, physical assets. So
Yeah, and you opened up a can of worms on that, because Tyler and I are also involved very actively at the Open DAO, which just fairly recently launched their SOS market for, basically it's like a what do you call it? An options market for NFTs almost, is probably.
I just need to interrupt you for 1 second. Just the SOS market is not available in the United States. So that is really important. So before anybody jumps in and was like, oh my God, it's so exciting, it's amazing. For legal reasons, if you're a US citizen, you can't buy it here. But if anybody is listening and you're not in the US, check your country and see if you're eligible for that.
yeah, in the US, we're highly protected.
Or there's some better words that I would rather choose. And if there's any regulators that ever listen to this conversation, do us all a favor and get forward here. It's 2022, and we're losing ground on a global basis because of regulations that are from the 19th century, not even the 20th century, but from the 19th century.
Yeah, we got to get on board. We can't.
Absolutely.
Because we can't lose the innovation. We need to keep all the innovation here. So that's important.
But for sure, and to change gears a little bit, we definitely need to have WGMI over on the DAO Hack, because we would love to hear what you guys have got going on over there. So
yeah, We're gonna set that up. We're gonna stay in touch and talk all about that for sure.
All right. Was there any other questions that we neglected to answer just due to excessive rambling by Tyler and myself?
No, you pretty much covered everything that I wanted to know, especially about creating passive income. Oh, I have one question. Do you plan on creating more towns after Token Town?
Oh, yeah. So
we do. Yeah, this is the model for everywhere.
And to clarify, this is a useful piece of information, because it's actually REtoken, and then Token Town DAO is kind of like where we're looking to build this HOA destroyer framework, because we don't even want to just stop with building new communities. We actually want to have a framework where we can go in where it makes sense, and there may be an opportunity to transition from a legacy HOA model in an existing neighborhood to a token town in an existing HOA community. So that's a very real opportunity. So REtoken, Token Town DAO, that's where we're going to be doing the real HOA destroying. Token Town Colorado is actually a child DAO of Token Town DAO, just for the specific, that one project. So we're creating the DAO framework to provide utmost scalability. And then when you start thinking too about like tokenization and the technology that you get, and then the opportunity to have a network effect, because right now HOAs don't have any network effect, But with tokenization, the opportunity of having a network effect, imagine having 100 or 1,000 token towns. How easy would it be to start disrupting Airbnb or other situations like that?
Absolutely. I see that's where it's going.
Yeah, 2022 is going to be the year of the sub DAO.
So, how can everybody get, I know we've got a lot of REtoken listeners listening to this also. How can people get involved with WGMI? What tell us about your community? Do you have a website? How can people join your community?
Yes, we do have a website. 1 second. I believe it's WGMI.community. Let me sure. But yeah, you can join our Discord server. And what we do at WGMI is we prepare people to become Web3 professionals in the space. We onboard people that are already communities managers and community leaders within Web2 and get them integrated within Web3. Or we just train people, like I said, from the beginning on how to become a community leader.
That's so valuable. And we're just at the very beginning of planning our June Token Summit DAO, but we're going to be having a job fair there. So we'd love to connect with you guys about that, of how we can highlight you and this community as something in the job fair.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. And yes, our website is wgmi.community. So
we will do our best to update the description on at least 1 or 2 of these live streams that went out today, because I think there might have been like 10 or something. It was a lot. So
Well, thank you
Y'all are
guys again
very
so much for
busy.
having us. Really enjoyed chatting with you, and hope to reconnect sometime in the future.
Yeah, thanks for being here, and we'll definitely connect in the future.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you for being here. It was a great talk. It was great talking to you guys.
absolutely. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody.
Okay, thanks again.